News now at this hour begins in the Federal Capital Territory, where the Federal High Court in Abuja has issued an order blocking the Central Bank of Nigeria from releasing monthly financial allocations to the Rivers State government. Delivering the ruling on Wednesday, Justice Joyce Abdulmalik declared that Governor Siminalayi Fubara's presentation of the 2024 budget before a four-member Rivers House of Assembly violated constitutional requirements. Justice Abdulmalik described the ongoing receipt and distribution of funds by the governor as a constitutional somersault and aberration that cannot continue. The judge found that Governor Fubara's actions in implementing an improperly approved budget amounted to a serious violation of the 1999 Constitution, which he is sworn to uphold. As part of the ruling, the court also barred the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Accountant General of the Federation, and financial institutions, including Zenith Bank and Access Bank, from granting the Rivers State governor access to funds from the Consolidated Revenue and Federation account. Away from that now, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, has increased the price of premium motor spirit, commonly known as petrol, to 1,025 naira per litre in Lagos and surrounding areas, up from 980 naira per litre. In the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, petrol prices also rose from 1,030 naira to 1,060 naira per litre, according to observations at multiple NNPCL stations on Tuesday. This price adjustment, the third since September, is part of the government's ongoing deregulation policy, which allows fuel prices to respond to market demand and supply conditions. Meanwhile, the Dangote Petroleum Refinery has raised concerns over the continued importation of petrol, despite its production capacity at the new $20 billion facility in Lekki. Oil marketers are predicting further price increases in the near future as the energy sector adjusts to these evolving dynamics. Let's give you some updates on the power outage in northern Nigeria, where the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, says it is working to restore electricity to the region after a week-long blackout. Now, Managing Director Sule Abdulaziz explained that vandalism and insecurity hindered initial repair efforts, causing the collapse of multiple towers along the Shiroro-Mando Line 1. 17 northern states have been affected, with some experiencing total darkness of 2 weeks. Now, TCN has deployed engineers to complete restoration and aims to distribute 500 to 600 megawatts to the region by Sunday. President Bola Tinubu has directed TCN to expedite repairs and provided security support through the National Security Advisor. Meanwhile, the Deputy Senate President, Barau Jibrin, has confirmed that security agencies are set to take decisive action against insurgents responsible for damaging critical power infrastructure in northern Nigeria. Now, this development comes after the Transmission Company of Nigeria announced that the ongoing repairs to the damaged transmission line that led to a blackout in the region will be completed by Sunday, 3rd of November 2024. The outages are largely attributed to the vandalism of transmission lines, including the key Shiroro-Kaduna line. Speaking on the Senate floor on Tuesday, Senator Jibrin assured lawmakers that the Office of the National Security Advisor is fully engaged with the issue.
The Senate is concerned about the lack of electricity supply in the northern part of this country. This is happening due to the fact that the electricity tower coming from within the area that electricity is taken to the northern part of the country was vandalized by terrorists, and it has become a problem for the TCN staff to get to where this occurred, to get it restored, because that area is being occupied by terrorists. Now, what has been done is what is being done now is that the security agencies are putting their hands together to get to that spot and try to eradicate or take away the threat that is being there for quite a while.
And let's also tell you that Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has officially launched the 2025 Armed Forces Remembrance Day emblem in Abuja. Now, the event, which took place at the council chamber of the Aso Rock Villa, saw President Tinubu commend the nation's armed forces for their efforts in ensuring peace and security in the country. Now, he pledged to prioritize the welfare of servicemen and women as they continue to ensure the protection of Nigeria's territorial integrity and the safety of citizens.
See that? What you are the first line of defense for this country. Thank you for your patriotic commitment to Nigerian unity, stability, and progress. We take today to remember our fallen heroes who had sacrificed their lives, men and women, for the unity, stability, and progress of this country. We are committed to their values, their principle, their belief, and the unity and stability of this country as we pass on to the next generation a banner without stain.
The 2024 Annual Directors Conference with the theme Good Governance as a Catalyst for Economic Recovery, Growth and Development is underway in Lagos, Nigeria. The conference seeks to examine and exploit the overarching relevance, implications and effects of good governance in stimulating economic rebirth, engendering growth and facilitating an all-encompassing development in Nigeria. News Central's business correspondent, Perpetual Fasumi Peter, is there and now joins us on the news. Hello, Perpetual. Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Perpetual, please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, good afternoon. I can hear you.
Good afternoon, Perpetual. All right, so the conference is currently ongoing. What are some key takeaways that you've gotten since you got there?
All right. Well, there is a whole lot of takeaway, if you ask me. Starting from the speeches, we've had the president's representative speak. That's the minister and economic planning, Atiku Bagudu. And apart from that, we also had the governor of Lagos State speak. And just before I stepped out for this, Tahiru Jega was also speaking, the keynote speaker for today's event. But I'll just take you through some of the conversations. But before then, let me just say one or two things about the theme for today's event, which is good governance as catalyst to economic recovery, growth and development. So that sort of helps us understand that when we're talking about governance, we're talking about the fact that, there's creation of wealth, and there's also the fact that, a lot of Nigerians or a lot of citizens can say to a very large extent that they are better in terms of welfare and what have you. But now to some of the talks that we've had here today. Let me begin with this particular one, which is the one from the governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu. He said that we need to raise our heads up, and then he charged the institute, that's the Institute of Directors, to help public sector players deliver even more. And he's saying that, they should commit to ensuring values of transparency is lived with and in every facet of the economy. That, of course, is also the same thing we heard from President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's representative. It feels like to a very large extent, everybody knows the solution, everybody knows the answer, and everybody's talking about transparency and accountability. It begs the question, we've talked about all of these things. We keep talking about them, but talking about transparency and accountability coming from the people who are spearheading, or the people you can say are the economic managers of this great country, you don't wonder if they are actually put into action some of those things that they are saying. And apart from that, there also, of course, as you would always expect, the rhetorics about, okay, we're undergoing some reforms. These reforms are long overdue. These reforms are going to ensure that things get better. Though it's going to be painful, you just have to keep enduring until things get better. I wish I had the opportunity to put a question to them. I'd like to know, some of the measures they've been able to put in place so far to sort of reduce the impact, to reduce the effect of some of these result of the reforms. Of course, they would tell you that they are giving single-digit loans to manufacturers. They would talk about, some of the maybe farmers that have been able to give fertilizers and all of those things. But at the end of the day,
all right. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the rest of Perpetual Fasimi Peter's thoughts on the ongoing conference, but we're able to get the much that we could about the conference, and we'll definitely circle back to her to get more information. We go on a short break now. The news is still on, and when we come back, Governor Oti absent as Labour Party kicks off Abia Local Government Election campaign. We'll bring you the details after the break. Staying with us now to political matters, Governor Alex Oti on Tuesday was conspicuously absent from the Labour Party's flag-off of campaigns for the local government election on Saturday, November 2nd, 2024. Also absent were the Deputy Governor, Ikechukwu Metu, the National and State Assembly members of the Labour Party and aides of the governor. News Central's Chinwe Ugele reports.
Tuesday's flag-off of campaigns for the ruling Labour Party in Abia State has answered the questions of where the governor stands in the internal crisis of the party. Throughout the program, which took place at the Abba Recreation Club, no serving elected or appointed public officer in the state of Labour Party showed presence, although the party faithful hoped for otherwise.
In Abia State, Dr. Alex Oti is our leader, our political leader. Governor himself is still a Labour Party member, and I believe he must surely support his own.
This may also be a confirmation to claims that the governor has his preferred candidates for the elections sponsored through Zenith Labour Party. Zenith Labour Party had last week also flagged off campaigns in Aba with aides of Governor Alex Oti present as the candidates turned out to be former Labour Party members and loyalists of the governor. The National Vice Chairman Southeast of the Labour Party, C.K. Igara, and the State Party Chairman, Prince Ndubeze, at their flag-off say the party will always uphold the principles that earned it victory at the 2023 polls.
Once you get the people's choice, you have little or nothing to do as campaign. Because it is the people's choice, the people who campaign for him, the people who stand to defend him, the people who also contribute to make sure he succeeds.
Let every other party that are represented in Abia State give them the opportunity to be in this contest so that the best will emerge.
Candidates and various party faithful are putting their faith in the electoral body in the conduct of the coming election.
We believe in the ability of the APSEC chairman. He has promised to deliver a free, fair, credible election. So we believe he will do justice and give a level playing field for all parties to participate.
And of course, we are the government in power, and the candidates that we have, we have across the 17 local governments are pure reflection of the will of the people.
I find this is going to be a test for the governor of Abia State, because we know it's free and fair election that bring him as the governor. So we are expecting him to do the free and fair election.
Okay. You're sure of what?
Having victory. If the governor allow this election to be free and fair.
From the sales of form to the process of screening, they have been very, very fair to all the political parties.
Although the chairman of the Abia State Independent Electoral Commission has become press shy lately, the commission seems partly ready with some non-sensitive materials, even as the long-awaited list of candidates has been published. In Umuahia for News Central, I am Chinwe Ugele.
Now, public affairs experts in Nigeria are urging the immediate implementation of the Justice Wise report on electoral reforms, saying the non-implementation of the report can lead to a collapse of the nation's democracy. They made this call during the second Ariyo Dari Atoye Memorial Election Reform Session, organized by the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. News Central's Joshua Imrai has the details in this report.
The lecture is in honor of late human rights activist Ariyo Dari Atoye. The engagement is second in a series also known as the second Ariyo Dari Atoye Memorial Election Reform Series, with the theme Presentation of a National Action Plan for Electoral Reforms. The executive director of the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought calls for urgent electoral reforms to protect the nation's fragile democracy.
The Nigerian democracy is at the verge of collapse. That's really only those who pretend that it's not about to collapse. And it won't just collapse. The nation might as well collapse with it. The last election almost forecloses the possibility that with the current INEC, with the current structure, and the current judicial setup, many people, many reasonable people, would argue that there's no chance of removing a government that is not performing.
He also called for the immediate implementation of the Justice Wise report on electoral reforms.
So the Wise report says first thing to do, dismantle INEC as composed, create a different electoral body. We can retweak the INEC, the Wise model, allow the president to still do appointment, but appointment will be like routine, like foreclosure. There will be a competitive merit-based recruitment like the Wise reported. End of the day, the president has maybe 2 persons.
Prominent civil society activist NOB highlighted the pressing need for a transparent electoral process that allows Nigerians freely choose their leaders.
From the civil society, we are not bothered about who is going to be on the table or who wins. Let the process be fair and free. Let Nigerians choose their own leaders by themselves, by the process of free and fair election.
Another popular civil rights activist present at the engagement called for decisive reforms to shield Nigeria's institution from politically exposed persons.
Politically exposed persons should not go anywhere near our judiciary. Politically exposed persons should not go anywhere near EFCC. The reason why you see some of these things happening today, where EFCC wants to carry out an operation, and the Abia already has a hint before the operation happens, is because go and look at the recruitment process for EFCC in the last 10 years. It's politicians, senators, House of Reps, they bring their children, their cousin, they bring a list.
Participants at the engagement also called for the prosecution of citizens engaged in electoral offences during elections in Nigeria. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imrai.
Now, the Speaker of Nigeria's House of Representatives has called for collective action against barriers that limit women's political representation, especially in the legislative arm of government. The Speaker made this call during the International Legislative Dialogue on Women and the Constitution Amendment process in the country, where he expressed concern over the low representation of women in Parliament, calling for efforts to increase their numbers. Our correspondent, Idong Joseph, has more on this.
Committee. In Nigeria's parliament, records indicate that women's representation remains low, despite efforts by various interest groups to increase their numbers.
I so support, Mr. Speaker.
Those in support of this motion should say aye.
Out of over 400 seats at the national level, only about 20 are currently occupied by female lawmakers. This situation has sparked discussions about increasing women's representation, as the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the wife of the President, and the Deputy Ambassador of the European Union delegation to Nigeria and ECOWAS have all voiced their concerns.
Rwanda, with over 60% women representation in its parliament, has shown us that robust, intentional policies work.
Particularly in states like Kwara, where we had 5, and I think Ekiti had 6. This was, however, not the case at the current 10th National Assembly.
There is a strong evidence all around the world that as more women are elected to office, there is an increase in policy making that emphasizes quality of life and reflects the priorities of families.
Despite only 4 women elected into the 10th Senate, the President of the Senate says that efforts were out in place to increase women's representation.
We have taken steps to increase women representation in decision-making bodies, including introduction of gender quotas in political party nominations. I think we need to be appreciated.
However, the Speaker of the House of Representatives says that for Nigeria to reverse this trend, stakeholders must collaborate to dismantle the barriers limiting women's representation. Also, the Deputy Speaker added his voice to the debates. He says that the Constitution Review Committee is considering a bill aimed at ensuring fair women's representation.
This stark gap speaks not of a lack of capable women, but of institutional barriers we must all work to dismantle.
Provide for a seat reservation for women in the National and State Houses of Assembly, HB 1349, alongside other 4 gender justice bills are under consideration.
While the importance of women's political participation cannot be overemphasized, stakeholders believe that the ongoing constitution review process presents an opportunity to adopt a more inclusive legal framework that will increase women's representation. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
Nigerian women have been encouraged to reach for their dreams in their careers and attain the highest levels of leadership in politics and businesses. This was at a Women in Business and Politics Summit in the nation's capital, Abuja, where women were urged to support one another irrespective of political or cultural affiliations.
Men most times are used for thuggery, snatching ballot boxes and all. You don't see women doing that in men. So the people are actually turning in those numbers that elect men are women. And if women should come together and say, okay, we actually want proper representation in power, and come forward and get behind one person, that person will elect, whether we men.
Now, some stakeholders in Plateau State are optimistic that the rapid upgrade in the education sector in the state will sooner than later improve the economy and livelihood of residents of the state. So says the state governor, Caleb Mutfwang, who was at the commissioning and handing over of the Government Technical College in Mangu Local Government Area of Plateau State to the Federal Ministry of Education. News Central's Chizoba Anyonwe tells us more.
Federal Government Technical College, Mangun, in Mangu Local Government Area of Plateau State, was birthed from Government Science School, Mangun. The quest for improved standard of education and skills acquisition for better livelihood of the youth of Plateau State gave rise to this development, an initiative of the member representing Mangu Bokos Federal Constituency. For Governor Caleb Mutfwang, the upgrade of Federal Technical College will turn the community of Mangun into a technical hub.
Yeah, it means a lot to the development of skills, growth, economic impact, career opportunities, adaptability, societal impact, and as well as lifelong learning opportunities for our teeming youth.
Before now, Plateau was the only state in the country without a government science and technical school. This is the icing on the cake for major stakeholders at this event.
I always tell people, this is time for governance. It's not for party issue. It's a time that we need to unite and see what we can do to develop our plan. See what we can do to bring our own quota. Let's utilize this opportunity. We don't know whether it will be the last.
And the part of the ministry, we want to ensure that the structural area group, as he has said, not only that, we want to ensure that within now and next year, everything is put in place and the students will come here and start their academic activity.
And for us, senior secondary is the bridge from the basic to the tertiary. So it's important that those skills and the learnings that our youth will go on with are very, very important.
The 1.5 billion naira project, when completed, would, among others, pave the way for one ICT library, 4 laboratories, and 200 bed spaces for the benefit of the students. In Mangu Local Government Area for New Central, Chizoba and Niui.
Many thanks for staying with us on the news. Now, trade unions in Mali have suspended a strike planned by prison staff, initially set to begin on Tuesday as they push for information on the whereabouts of 2 missing union members. The Judiciary Workers Union announced the suspension after Justice Minister Mamudu Kasogwe promised increased efforts to secure the safe return of their 2 colleagues to their families. Now, Commander Dauda Konate, the head of the Prison Guards Union, and Famusa Fumba, a prison nurse in Bamako, have been missing since Friday. This development unfolds against a backdrop of political, security, and economic challenges in Mali, worsened by a surge in jihadist violence since 2012. Now, since the military's rise to power in coups over the past few years, several dissidents have reportedly been detained in Communicado before facing court or being released. In a crucial moment for the democratic process, Botswana's President Mokgweetsi Masisi cast his vote in his hometown of Moshupa, 60 kilometers outside Gaborone. Accompanied by his wife, family, and supporters, the president emphasized the significance of voting and called on all eligible citizens to come out in numbers and make their voices heard. President Masisi expressed his confidence about the upcoming results, stating that he believed in the choice of the people and look forward to serving them for another term. A message that resonates with many voters who see this election as pivotal for the future of the country.
We must, I think, as a nation, consider digitizing this because it's too manual and too slow. And then the results come out much quicker. But all the same, I'm quite happy that we're going through this. And I look forward to the result coming out. Look at me. I'm relaxed. I haven't packed anything at home because the work we put in terms of delivery to our people, the engagements we had with them, the criticism and feedback we got from them, and what we responded to those, gives me confidence that we'll be returned to power. The voters, I want them to come out in large numbers and come and exercise their democratic right, which we have had since 1965, and will never stop. We are a parliamentary system democracy. We respect it. We have term limits for the presidency. We respect that. And I'm going for my last term. So for me, it's a final hurrah. So I enjoyed the campaign, I enjoyed the messaging, I enjoyed, engaging with voters across the country. I enjoyed the contest, even with my contestants. It was lovely.
News Central's Bongani Zeba joins us now to give us an update of the exercise. Bongani, good afternoon. Can you hear us?
Yes, good to see you, Bless.
All right, give us an update on the voter turnout for the polls.
Yes, we are still at Moshupa village, that is the home village of the President, Mokgweetsi Masisi. He was here just an hour ago casting his vote with his family and his wife, and accompanied by other supporters and security. But if you remember, in the morning, the queues were very long here. But if I could ask my camera person just to show you on my right here, you can see that a few chairs are now empty, which means the voting system is going very well. But we have seen the youth voter turnout in very big numbers. And if I could just here, that's where the voters check their names. If your name is there and you have registered, then you are let inside here where I am from. But before I go, these are the main parties that are contesting. This is the ruling party and other 2 main opposition parties that are also contesting. As you can see inside here that the fair voting is taking place. On my right, you can see with your name is there. Then proceed to get your card what they pay so that they don't leave. And then on the other side, you get that vote. Cast your put your eggs wherever you want, and then go into this box. So the voting process is going very well in the polling stations that security is also available. But we also have an opportunity to speak to the election observers who told us that so far the elections are free and fair in the polling stations that they have visited. The elections are going very well and are free and fair elections. You also heard President also speaking to voters that they should come out in their numbers and vote, and also promising that if he's elected back into power, he's going to look at the economy and also help out, especially the rural people. Like I indicated in the morning, that there are some places where there is no water and they were complaining about that, but the president said he was going to look at that. So this is what is happening now in some of these polling stations, especially here where I am. As you can see that most of the chairs are empty, but voting is going on. And from the IEC, we have heard that they are going to close at 8 p.m. Then after, vote counting starts. It's back to you now. Blessings.
Botswana elections, and we'll definitely look back to you to see how that turns out. Thank you. Now to more stories. A new militia group known as the Eastern Battalion in Sudan has announced the deployment of its fighters in the country's eastern region. This move, made public on Tuesday, reportedly aligns with Sudan's armed forces, which have been locked in a fierce battle against paramilitary groups for over 18 months. The conflict, which erupted in April 2023, pits Sudan's regular armed forces, led by de facto leader Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, against the Rapid Support Forces, a powerful paramilitary group led by former Deputy Mohamed Hamdan Daglo. The violence has claimed tens of thousands of lives and forced over 11 million people to flee, with more than 3 million crossing Sudan's borders, according to the International Organization for Migration. Now, the emergence of the Eastern Battalion, among other militias reportedly trained in Eritrea, has raised concerns over the involvement of additional armed factions in this protracted and devastating conflict. And in a sharp escalation of diplomatic tension, Somalia has ordered the expulsion of a senior Ethiopian diplomat amid growing strain between East African neighbors. On Tuesday, Somalia's foreign ministry announced that Ali Mohammed Adan, holding the rank of Counselor 2 at the Ethiopian embassy, has been given 72 hours to leave the country. While no specific reasons were cited, the ministry statement noted that Adan had failed to respect the laws of the host nation and abstained from involvement in its internal affairs. Now, this diplomatic move comes amid heightening friction since Ethiopia's January agreement to develop a port in Somaliland, a region seeking independence from Somalia. Additionally, Somalia plans to exclude Ethiopian troops from a new African Union peacekeeping force set for deployment on the 1st of January, aimed at combating the Al-Shabaab insurgency. Still to come, U.S. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump claims to be biggest supporter of Latino community. We'll bring you this and many more after the break. Now, Donald Trump addressed the controversy surrounding his recent rally in New York, where a speaker referred to Puerto Rico as a floating island of garbage. Trump claims that nobody loves Latino community and our Puerto Rican community more than he does. He emphasized his commitment to delivering the best future for Puerto Ricans and Hispanic Americans at a rally in Pennsylvania. Despite the backlash, Trump maintains that his rally was an absolute love fest and shifts the focus to criticizing his Democratic opponent on border enforcement, crime, and the economy.
And I'm so proud that we're getting support from Latinos like never before. We're setting every record. Hispanics, Latinos. Nobody loves our Latino community and our Puerto Rican community more than I do. Nobody. You know, it's interesting because I've done more for Puerto Rico than any president by far. Nobody close. I provided historic funding and the hospital ship when they were hit with a couple of really bad ones right in the road. We got the ship over there with thousands of rooms, actually. It was amazing. A floating hospital, the biggest in the world. I will deliver the best future for Puerto Ricans and for Hispanic Americans.
Now, voters in western North Carolina are determined to cast their ballots despite the devastation caused by Hurricane Helen. The storm has caused significant damage and disruption to the region, but voters are finding ways to exercise their right to vote. Some voters, like Republican voter Sally Wilson Pereira, have gone to great lengths to cast their ballots, returning home to Black Mountain to cast an early ballot after evacuating to neighboring South Carolina. The state of North Carolina has also implemented measures to ensure that voters affected by the storm can still cast their ballots, including absentee voting and early voting options.
I'm a Christian, and my help doesn't come from FEMA. My hope is in Jesus Christ, and I look into the hills from whence cometh my help. And I would have clawed or hitchhiked to get up here to vote for Donald Trump.
I chose Kamala because Trump is actually wanting to segregate people. My children are biracial, so that's an issue for me. I want my children raised to see no color.
And now to business. The Central Bank of Nigeria should limit its forex market interventions and adopt a transparency framework to manage exchange rate flexibility, according to the World Bank's Nigeria Development Update. The advisory follows CBN's significant $876.26 million retail Dutch auction on the 26th of August 2024, aimed at boosting dollar liquidity and stabilizing the naira. Now, this move, a departure from sales to Bureau de Change operators, provided access to 3,347 firms at a cut-off rate of 1,495 naira per dollar. Now, under Governor Yemi Cardoso, CBN has increased FX interventions to curb market volatility and support economic stability. Now to sports. Coach of the Lionesses of England, Sarina Wiegman, has admitted her side was sloppy as England narrowly beat South Africa 2-1 in an international friendly at Coventry. The Lionesses were in cruise control as Leah Williamson marked her 50th cap with the opener before Maya Leticia picked out Manchester United teammate Grace Clinton to give England a 2-0 lead heading into the interval. But they were far from perfect in the second period as South Africa got one back courtesy of Thembi Glanter's neat finish beyond Mary Earps. Glanter caused problems throughout and thought she had equalized when she hammered into the top corner, but the offside flag saved England as they returned to winning ways in unconvincing fashion following Friday's chaotic loss to Germany. After the match, Wiegman was full of praise for Bayana talisman Thembi Glanter, who she described as an absolute threat.
With those players in the team, that's what we were expecting that too. But she's an absolute threat. She's so fast, and her technical abilities are good to the goal. How she scored was really good, and also her runs are smart. And yeah, she's so fast, so it's an absolute threat. But the timing of her runs and the directions of her runs were just really good.
And that's all on the news at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of our major stories. Now, we told you that court has ordered CBN to withhold monthly allocations to River State over constitutional violations. We also mentioned that NNPCL has increased petrol price for third time since September amid market adjustments. And finally, we told you that Somalia has ordered Ethiopian envoy to leave amid dispute over Somaliland port deal. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, StarTimes channel 274, Avo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Blessings Mosugu.